Welcome everyone to the Journey to Homeownership series from Golden State Finance Authority. My name is Carolyn Sunseri, and I'm the Marketing Director for Golden State Finance Authority, also known as GSFA. Most of the programs from Golden State Finance Authority focus on down payment assistance. But for that to be real to many people, for them to understand what that assistance can do for them, it's really helpful to hear it from actual individuals who have gone through the home buying process and acquired down payment assistance from Golden State Finance Authority in that process. So I am really excited about our guest. And so with that, I'd like to introduce him. I'd like to introduce Michael, who works for Monterey County and now resides in Madera County and just bought his first home through one of the GSFA down payment assistance programs that was specifically for county employees. It was during the pandemic when our work environments, many of us, those work environments shifted and we started working from home. And that's when Michael decided to buy a home.
Thanks for having me. And I'm happy to share my experience with the GSFA, the down payment assistance process that I went through.
So why don't we get started with you just telling me or telling our audience a little bit more about yourself, maybe where you work, what kind of employment you do, where you now live, and maybe just some background.
I'm a software developer for the County of Monterey. Been working there for about 2.5 years now. I was living in Santa Cruz County for the past 10, 15, actually about 15 years. And home prices have really shot up, especially in the past decade, and then even over the pandemic. And so I was trying to find something that I could maybe purchase at some point, and looked to be pretty hopeless. And then I ended up learning about the down payment assistance program through my job.
Yeah, that's great. It's a very nice program. We will talk a little bit more about how it helped you with the actual down payment on your purchase. But it's my understanding your family lives close by. Are you close to your family? Do you see them a lot?
Yeah, so a lot of my family has relocated out towards in the Madera County area. So that was one of my reasons for wanting to, since we were working remotely, and the policies was to continue working remotely. I started to look out where it was more affordable and closer to my family.
That makes sense. I think that's important to a lot of us. So tell me, were you renting for a long time before this? What was your living situation?
Yeah, I've been a renter pretty much my whole life. And I was renting a 1-bedroom studio kind of place in Santa Cruz at the time.
That had to be expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive. It was about the same as the mortgage that I'm paying now. So
say that again. What were you renting in Santa Cruz?
I was renting it was a 1-bedroom place in Santa Cruz. That was more like, it was like an in-law unit in the back of a property. And so that was, the price on that was pretty much the same as the mortgage on the place that I ended up buying.
What kind of square footage? How big is the house that you bought?
It's 1,500 square feet, like family home, single family home.
3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms?
It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. So
a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and you're paying a mortgage that was equivalent to you're renting a small place in Santa Cruz County.
Yeah, yep.
It's got to be nice to have that extra space.
Yeah, for sure.
So was this the first time that you tried to buy a house? Have you ever thought about it before?
No, I did look into it a bit before I learned about the program, but I didn't have enough down. So I thought it wasn't a realistic option.
Was that the biggest challenge, was just that money for the down?
Right, yeah, just coming up with the lump sum for the closing costs and the down payment. Even though it was a FHA loan, it was still pretty significant, so.
It
For
is.
me, yeah,
I think with your loan, you had to come in with about 3.5% down. And I think you mentioned your house was about 340,000.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so that's a good $10,000 or $11,000 to come up with for the down payment.
yeah, it was about 11,000 that I got in assistance, so, yeah.
So what was it like, the process of buying a home?
I think it was pretty difficult. It took me I looked for about 2 months. It wasn't difficult in terms of finding lenders that would work with the program. It was just finding something that I liked and that was still in my price range and all of that, and just a lot of things that go into buying a home. So I was trying to make sure I did my due diligence, but yeah, it wasn't that difficult of a process though, as far as like I think it was a normal like it closed in a couple weeks, so it didn't even take a month to close. It was really smooth. So
That's good. I'm glad to hear that escrow process was very smooth. When I was buying a home, it was very nerve-wracking. I felt very overwhelmed. Did you have people in your life that kind of helped you along with the process, or explained how things were going to go?
yeah, I had my mom helped out. She had purchased houses before, so she definitely helped guide me in the process with just little things that I was going to need that were going to come up.
That's great. So there weren't other challenges? Did you have any issues with credit, or things that you had to kind of get settled up, or to be in a better place to buy? Or did you feel like you were prepared financially other than that down?
I was pretty prepared, but I'd been working to get my credit and in my debt income ratio in a good place for about a year before getting into the process. So I was pretty prepared for that.
That's great. It sounds like you were kind of aware that you needed to have a fairly good credit score, not an excellent, it doesn't have to be excellent to buy a home. I think our programs even allow people with not so perfect credit to qualify, but you were very aware that you needed to be, on top of what your debts were and on top of your credit ahead of time. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah. Tried my best to be in a good position for when the opportunity came up.
For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Journey to Homeownership series with Golden State Finance Authority and the Power is Now Media. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Michael Plusius of Madera County, who just bought a home with down payment and closing cost assistance from Golden State Finance Authority. We're going to take a short break. Please stay with us. You're watching the Journey to Homeownership series with Golden State Finance Authority. We will be right back. And we are back. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Journey to Homeownership series with Golden State Finance Authority. I'm your host, Carolyn Sanseri, Director of Marketing with GSFA. With me today is also Eric Frazier, President and CEO of the Power is Now Media. We're having a lovely conversation with Michael of Madera County, a new homeowner through the GSFA down payment assistance programs. Eric, let's talk to Michael about how much money he had been spending on rent for years and years prior to buying a home.
Great idea, Carolyn. Michael, I talked to a lot of first-time home buyers over the years, and many of them gotten discouraged because prices have just gone through the roof, and they've just decided just to continue to rent. At any point in this process, did you become discouraged and think, well, I'm just going to rent? And again, I think you mentioned you your rent was equal to what you were paying now on the mortgage, how much were you paying on average for rent during the period you were renting?
I think my average rent was about almost $2,000. So
Wow.
over the course of the years, yeah.
How many years, I mean, when you, I would say, when were you first in a position, say, to potentially buy, or you started, working and paying rent? So between then and now, how many years would that be?
Uh, how long have I been renting?
Yeah, right.
Probably about 20 years.
20 years.
Mhm.
So, wow, that's a lot. So 2,000 a month on average, that's 24,000 a year over 20 years. That's $480,000 that you have paid in rent, which is, income to the landowner. How does that make you feel to think about you've invested $480,000 in rent?
Well, you do what you gotta do. So,
Well, now you're that homeowner, and so you can start building equity on this property yourself. That's great.
yeah.
The home that you bought was 340,000. And for our audience, I just want to reiterate what you were able to get in assistance. It ended up being about $11,000 from Golden State Finance Authority to help you with your down payment. Now, there's also closing costs involved in a home purchase. And were you aware of that before you started this process?
Yeah, I was aware that there were closing costs, but I didn't know how much they would be or anything like that. So
So in
in
addition
my case, the closing costs ended up being almost as much as the down payment, so it was very significant.
yeah, they can range from around 2 to 3%. So it sounds like you had some savings, or you had saved up some money to actually use for your closing costs. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had saved up money because I was trying to get ready for some type of move. So yeah, I had enough to cover the closing costs for the loan so I saved
That's
up
great.
about $8,000 or so.
That's great. The program that you utilized is part of our Platinum program. Specifically, the program is called Assist to Own. And it was developed this last year specifically for employees that actually work for the county in 39 counties of California. You work for one of those counties, Monterey County. And so you had access to this program. Now we have programs that are for people who aren't county employees as well. But this program had a great feature in it that I'm sure you're aware of. The amount of money that you got in assistance, it is in a loan. It's in the form of a loan, and you have to pay back when you sell the property or refinance, or at the end of your 30-year mortgage term. But it doesn't have an interest rate associated with that loan. It's what we call a deferred second mortgage with a 0% interest rate, meaning we loaned you the money for your down payment, but you're not accruing any interest on it, and you don't actually have to pay any of it back until you sell the property, refinance, or at the end of your 30 years. And it's one of the more attractive features of this program as a county employee. And it sounded like you heard about it through work, through maybe one of the departments.
Yeah, actually, I think HR did a webinar. They did a couple of different ones for it. They sent out an email, let everyone know, and then there was a informational webinar. So I went to that. I think there may have been some people from GSFA there.
Yeah, I think we
yeah.
had a speaker there. Yeah. So have you been able to tell some of your other coworkers about this program?
Yeah, I think a bunch of people know about it now. I know people that are interested in possibly pursuing it.
That's great. Well, I'm glad that you were able to use this program.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to take advantage of it. It was a really, really helpful thing for me.
Michael, if I could interject here, on a scale of 1 to 10, Once you had discovered the Golden State Finance Authority down payment assistance, what difference did that make, in your confidence of being able now to actually purchase and close on a transaction? Because you had the down payment, you saved some money, but you didn't necessarily have enough of the down payment, or just enough of the down payment and not the closing costs.
Well, so I would say it definitely accelerated the process for me, which could have even, I mean, and with the way the market is, sometimes that could even be the difference of whether or not you can even get something, because just when the values are going up so much, if you need to wait 2 years to save up, and you might end up getting priced out. So it definitely helped to accelerate the process, or maybe even make it possible. So I would say like probably at 8, but definitely, yeah. I mean, there's equity that, part of your mortgage payment goes towards the principal every month, and yeah, and over time, I'm sure the value will increase.
Well, before we wrap up our interview, I really want to ask you what this home ownership has meant to you on a personal level.
So I would say that it was I mean, I've always wanted to own a home, and and I'm getting older, and I felt like that might be getting to the point where I was going to be priced out of being able to afford anything in California. So it's done a lot for me in terms of giving me stability and giving me a place where I feel like I can build without having to worry about the cost of living just soaring out of control for my income.
What's on the horizon for you?
I'd like to maybe get a dog, and just I wanted to maybe have a garden, or something to just things that I can improve around the place, that since it's mine. So that's one thing that I'm excited about.
Well, do you have any suggestions or takeaways that you'd like to share with the audience before we close out?
I would say that this program is definitely something worth exploring if you have access to it. I think it can be really beneficial to the process of getting your first home, or yeah, helping you in the home buying process. And yeah, it was really smooth. It wasn't difficult. That was one thing I was worried about, was that it would be difficult to find a lender, or that agents wouldn't want to work with me, but that wasn't the case. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely something worth checking out.
Well, thank you for agreeing to do this interview with us today. Please, if you are looking to buy a home and you haven't been able to save up enough for the traditional down payment, please don't self-diagnose yourself out of home ownership. The Golden State Finance Authority programs are here to help you purchase your home sooner than if you were having to take that time to save up $10, $20, $30, $40,000. And that's the point. It's a tool to help you purchase a home rather than waiting and watching that market and the home prices continue to rise, or being faced with rising rents. So for those of you watching today's show, I just want to encourage you to look into down payment assistance through Golden State Finance Authority. Reach out to GSFA. You can visit our website, gsfahome.org. We have a list of over 200 lenders participating in the programs. And if you don't work for the county like Michael does, there are other programs that are available to you. So again, that's gsfahome.org, or you can call toll-free 855-740-8422.
Michael, thank you for being willing to share your story with us, and the impact that homeownership has made to you and to your family. Homeownership is still the number one thing on the minds of every individual, any person, family or no family, individual, working adult. We all need a place we can call home, permanency, where you now can have your garden, have your own dog, live your life to your fullest. And so hopefully your story will be a source of encouragement to someone watching or the show or listening to the podcast. And I want to encourage those who are watching, go to the Golden State website. You'll not just see Michael's story, but there are other stories of individuals whose stories are incredible. Their journey to homeownership. And I appreciate the Golden State Finance Authority by making homeownership their number one priority every day. They're making dreams come true. They're helping people to start to build wealth, generational wealth, by assisting them in entering to homeownership. So thank you, Carolyn, for the Journey to Homeownership series on the Power Is Now TV.
Thank you all for joining us for the Journey to Homeownership series from Golden State Finance Authority. We hope that you will follow us on YouTube and visit our website, gsfahome.org, for more stories of people and their journeys to homeownership.